Hey everybody, I'm Jeff and welcome back to Chief Classics. So it's my 1-year YouTube anniversary and I thought I'd share something really special with you. Behind me is a 1965 Bonneville Safari station wagon, but it's not just any Bonneville Safari wagon. This is the Bonneville Safari wagon. It's powered by a 421 HO engine with 3 carburetors and 376 horsepower. Behind it's a Muncie 4-speed and we've got the 8-lug Kelsey-Hayes wheels on it. It's cold out here. Let's get this thing loaded. This is the first time I've seen this car outside, and I couldn't really tell if it was a black or a dark blue. Inside it kind of looked dark blue, but out here, I don't know, this thing looks pretty stark black. Pretty straight old bus. The plates on it are, gosh, what are these? They say West Virginia? Wyoming plates. From 1990, and behind it is another old Wyoming plate. Wow, what a beauty. Check out the interior in this car. I've never seen this color before. It's kind of a silver light blue color, but I've got the PHS documents for it. We'll have to dig through that later. Check it out. Hertz shifter, 4 gears. It shows 89,000 miles, and that's probably original. Oh, cool, we've got our rear window switch. Got AM radio. Not many other options. It's not an air car. This thing is all business. What a hot rod. Okay, I was wondering how many rows of seats it has, and I only see that second row. But what a beauty. This thing is in good shape for its age. Okay, so here's kind of that metallic-y blue color, but it looks like it was repainted black. This makes sense. Gosh, what a sharp car. All right, let's get it on the trailer and get out of the wind. Well, this old rig and I are off to a great start already. We got it inside and got the flat tire changed out, shredded tire I should say. But I couldn't get it in until I fixed that tire because I got to be able to roll this thing. And I had to lift it up by the frame and then disconnect the bottom shock bolt mount dealio so that I could drop the rear end down, because I didn't have enough clearance between the tire and the fender here to get it wiggled out. So I don't know if I've got a messed up shock, but I got something weird going on here because this thing's sitting kind of cattywampus, but you know, we'll get into it. Little things, right? I wanted to show you guys this. So I've got the Pontiac Historical Services report on this wagon, and check this out. Note, we are sorry to say that we do not have any production stats other than total Safari wagons built. Yours is the rarest I've ever seen, PHS. Isn't that cool? And the wagons themselves in 65 are incredibly rare. So we've got the Bonneville, and then we've got the 9-window. 1.31% of 65 Bonnevilles were 9-window cars. So that's pretty rare. I don't know what this rigmarole means, but this is the important stuff. Radio, push button manual antenna, tilt steering, backup lamps. Oh, I forget that's an option. Power steering, power brakes, soft tray glass, power window, Safari liftgate, luggage carrier. That's wild. Aluminum wheels and drums. Those are the 8 lugs. safety track, pause rear end. Tire options, 8.5 by 14 white walls, 4-speed synchro mesh, and then the HO tri-power 421 cubic inch engine is what makes this thing special. So unfortunately we don't know how many were made. Talked to a Pontiac expert about it, and he says probably less than 10 of these things were made with this drivetrain combo. So that's really cool. Now that we have them inside, let's do a real good look around. What a beauty. So this thing had some fire damage, as most tri-power cars do. You can see the hood's all discolored right here, unfortunately. Windshield's cracked, hard telling if that was because of the fire or not. Well, it didn't really get into the cowl that bad, so I assume not, but that's the reason it was parked, was the engine fire. We've got our fancy 8-lug wheels right next to our fancy 66 Bonneville rocker trim. Isn't that sharp? 65, I should say, excuse me. I always get that mixed up when I'm talking. No skirts, unfortunately. That would look cool. Maybe we can make that happen. Check out the fuel tank location on these things. It is literally in the quarter panel. Oh man, that is stuck. But yeah, it's like right here. It's not underneath the floor where they usually are. There's our special optioned roof rack. I forgot on the third page of the PHS documents, the buckets were special order, but all the trim is here. This car is really complete. The tailgate's probably the saddest part about it all, being a different color. Looks like it got kind of whammied in right here. Poor thing. But otherwise, really straight old bus. I just love the rocker trim. The rocker trim, the 8-lug wheels, and the roof rack do a lot for this car. What a monster. This thing is solid too, fellas. Being off the road since '89, and I'm not sure if it was a Wyoming car originally, but it's got 2 sets of Wyoming plates on it. Oh, we're missing a mirror. Why try harder? I am number one. You know, if you're driving this car around, you definitely deserve that. What a bad mother. We got another AAA sticker up here. Let's check out the interior. This car's great, but I'm also kind of sad because I feel like I've peaked now. I feel like it doesn't get any better than this. Check out that color. Now, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at my documents, but this is either a really light blue or a silver. And it's not in bad shape. We've got 89,000 on the clock. Check out our rear window switch. Safari only. There's our tilt. Oh man, do we have keys for this thing? Maybe not. The gauges aren't all faded. That's a real wood dash too. Pontiac was famous for that. Oh, this might yield us some results. John Deere Company of Kansas City. I think I just inhaled that. Insurance. Owner's manual. Sweet. Sorensen's Cattle Cruisers, Wyoming. Oh my, isn't that cool? It's toenail clippers. Wowee. John Deere Company, again. To Mr. W.F. Woodhouse. Another owner's manual. Is this another shifter knob? Oh, I wonder if that's the original. I think we're gonna run that one instead. This one's cool and all, but that other one's got a Pontiac emblem in the middle of it. We'll put that in there for safekeeping it. I'm led to believe it's not original because it has a set screw in it. Yeah, buddy. Oh, it's loosey-goosey. We'll have to figure that out. So we have a starter, trim. What about you? HVAC controls. Ooh, ooh, ooh. We have wiring. Thank the good Lord we have wiring. Oh, cool. And all of our vacuum hoses. Sweet. That's going to save me a lot of heartache. Because I think that the wiring in this car is just ruined, maybe all the way past the firewall and into the cab here. So there's our new dashboard. I think this panel is for our tailgate. It does have a third row seat, I think. Let's get that flipped up. I love the padding back here. This is so pretty. What a killer car. That doesn't appear we do, but I found a spare tire well, and it is in incredibly good shape. See all the broken glass from back when it was wrecked, the poor thing. Let's get this back down so we can get that side panel opened up. Goodness, we get another spare. Oh man, check it. We've got our hold down plate too. Sweet. Hope we can find the rest of the pieces for that. There's our hold down rod back there. Maybe the rest of it's in there. It doesn't look like this was ever wrecked or worked on or anything. It all looks really, really nice. Cool. 2 more 8-lug wheels. Here we are. Oh my, she's cold. The 421 HO 3 deuce 4-speed. My, oh my. I feel bad. Last night was probably the first time this car spent the night outside in probably 30, 40 years. Goodness. So there you see our linkage. Oh man, it's all stuck. These poor carburetors got cooked, man. That's sad. Yeah, for those that don't know, these tri-power cars tended to catch on fire a lot, unfortunately. And this was one of the statistics. Man, that's a bummer. Oh well, we'll figure it out. We'll overcome. We're gonna do right by Dean, who was gracious enough to sell my business partner the car. Ended up passing not long later. So this is for you, Dean. We're gonna get it running and driving for you again. You wouldn't believe it, but this engine turns over. When I was backing it off the trailer, I forgot that I put it in gear. And I thought, well, this thing's kind of going down the trailer slowly. I wonder what's going on. And then I looked underneath and the fan's turning. So at least we know the engine isn't ruined. So there it is, the WJ suffix code on the front of the block. Go to Wallace Racing here, 1965, 421, 376 horse, WJ. Oh man, I can't believe I get to work on this car. I know I can be reckless with some of these other cars, but we're gonna take every precaution that I know how to take with this car. We're gonna treat it gingerly. So let's work on getting him cleaned up. I really want to see this thing clean. Let's get this cleaned up and cleaned out. Try not to feed this poor engine anything else. Get all the poops out of here. Oh, look what I found under the hood. the entire engine bay wiring harness. So there's the tube for the starter cable, and then you can see those are all the clips for the headlights. There's one connector, and there's two connectors. So all we gotta do is pop off the connectors down here, and we're rewired. Dang, I just noticed, look how big the opening on the front and rear carbs are compared to the center. It's almost like an inch difference. That's nuts. You can see it better here. Holy cow, what a monster. Before we do anything else, let's wash off this $100,000 worth of barn dust. Let's give him a bath, see what he looks like. Dust blowing off of him. You can tell this paint hasn't had any work done to it for a long time, but I think we can buff that and make it all one color again. I wonder if this paint's original, and I may have misspoke. Starlight Black is the original color. Paint code AA. That's Starlight Black top and bottom. So it's an original black wagon with this blue silver interior. I think that's way too cool. But we got to get this engine out. This engine's got a hot date with a machine shop. Let's do ourselves a favor here. I'm gonna have to probably fight absolutely every fastener on top of this engine, unfortunately. Everything is so darn corroded from that fire. So I got everything off the engine that I need to get off from up top. Let's get underneath this car and really check it out. I haven't really taken a peek under there. So we have surface rust, but we don't have rust through really. The bottom of the fenders just kind of look like they've been in a wet environment. They don't really look all that rusty. And the rocker looks outstanding. Our clutch pedal's disconnected. Wonder why that is. I guess it's not really disconnected, but our pivot ball is, or our Z-bar arm is not in our throw-out bearing fork. I don't see any obvious reason why. I don't know. Wow, a fancy red starter. Everything looks like it's in good shape. Bottom of the pan's rusty. I wonder if that's probably just surface. Check these out. This is a long tail shaft Muncie. Isn't that thing huge? That thing's as long as a long shaft turbo 400. They're pretty rare and pretty valuable. They're hard to find, obviously. Oh, look at this, huh? Our collector must be messed up. It's holding the pipe in. You can see those factory long branch racing manifolds right there that came on the HO cars. Brakes and everything. Suspension looks okay except for the, you know, the little lift pieces to get some more elevation up front. I think they're in the back too. There's something messed up in the back though. I think the shocks are stuck. Everything up here looks really good. Floors look nice. This one's covered in oil, so that's good. got a little bit of corrosion starting here on the lip, but it's not through anywhere. It's pretty solid. It's not soft. Pipes are junk. The floors look amazing. Oh man, we got carnage right here. Got high centered on a little something. It's not rusted out. Passenger side looks good. Yeah, exhaust is rotten. We have a blown out pinion seal, but we can handle that. Yeah, everything looks okay. I think the shocks are stuck and it won't let the rear end drop down far enough to get the wheels out of the wheel well. Looks like we might have a bad axle seal on that side. This side looks fine. That kind of stuff happens, it's okay. Fender well looks good. It's got metal all the way around it. There's the tank inside of that quarter panel. And then this is just a big well. It has a spare tire in it. Cool. This all looks really nice. Well, we're getting stuff done here. Got everything up top unhooked. I think that we can sneak it out with that front accessory drive on there. And I think we've got everything down below out as well. We've got our transmission cross member bolts out. We've got one bolt holding the transmission to the bell housing on the other side. And what we're gonna do, oh shit, I may not have left myself enough space. I lowered the car on the jack stand so that I could actually get it out of the engine bay. But we're gonna take this transmission out first because it's just so terribly long. We're not gonna risk banging it on anything, because if anything happened to this transmission, we'd be up, you know, that creek, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna get the transmission jack under here, get this cross member wiggled out, and then I think we can pull the engine. Brake out of the way. Drop this cross member on my head. Oh my, I forgot how much fun these are to take out. There we go. Maybe a little more. Nope, less. We gotta get all the pressure on the bell housing. There we go. Try to. We'll put all this stuff under here. Okay. Oh, doggies. Forget how many years these things have been together. Whew. Okay, now it's just in the throw-out bearing. There we go. Bring it down a little. Must be hitting stuff up top. There we are. Here we have it. Cool, guys. She's free. Back a little. Come on back now. Back wheels of the hoist aren't even coming off the ground. Never get all the power steering fluid out. This thing looks about as correct as the day is long though. Check it, you cannot wiggle them starters out of there with those long branch manifolds in the way. And I really hope that I remember that next time I put it back together. I had this trouble on that white 66 2+2 that we put in. 421 car as well with the long branch manifolds. And I had to lift the engine back out while it was still in the car to get the, I think I had the starter on already. But in order to get the manifolds on, I had to lift it up because these bolts here in the middle, I think, are too long and they ended up hitting the frame. There we have it. Check him out, huh? We better get that Muncie out from under there before I forget. So we done the old car shuffle and got the wagon stuck back in purgatory for a little bit. That's all right. We gotta do some prep work to the engine bay, go through the brakes, make sure our fuel system works. But now we kind of get to do the fun restoring part. We've got to clean this Muncie up so that it can get rebuilt. We're going to be nice guys and not bring it to them all scuzzy. And we need to get all of the accessories off of this 421. We're going to just bring it there as a long block. We don't want to lose anything off of it. So we're going to strip it on down and prep it for the fella. My engine builder was a nice guy and said that he doesn't usually rebuild Muncies, but he's gonna make an exception. So we'll make sure that you can eat off of this thing by the time it goes through his door. So now that we have it cleaned off, we can see a common problem with these things. It's had the ears welded on, the bottom ones too. The top ears have both been re-welded. At least in my experience, I had one of these, well, I had a Super T10 that I think broke 3 of the ears off when I broke a front U-joint. So hard telling what happened with this guy. Maybe it got dropped, simple as that. But yeah, we've been welded on, but they did a pretty good job machining this surface right here. I mean, if you touched this, you couldn't tell that this has been re-welded or broke it off. Maybe it just cracked up here, but overall, the surface feels pretty good. I don't feel bad about using that case again. I wonder if the numbers that correlate to our vehicle are on the case. Maybe not, huh? I suppose if it's gonna be any, it's gonna be those because it's stamped. Yeah, okay. This is a numbers matching case. Cool, that's awesome. Let's tear into this thing and see what it can tell us. I think these are probably 10-inch pressure plates. There we go. Starter's probably gonna fall on the floor now. Oh, not yet. Oh, I forgot about that dust shield. Oh my gosh! Look at this clutch! What brand is, what are the purple ones? Are they Ram? I don't know. We'll get that dust shield off, then we'll find out. Zoom! Excuse me. All right, let me get this starter out of here now. Still no. Sweet, according to the internet, that's a 10.5-inch clutch. The pilot, not bushing, but bearing in this case, came out with it. That's kind of neat. So for those that don't know, the pilot bushing rides in the back of the crank here, and the snout of the transmission input shaft rides in there, keeps everything centered up. There we go. Any brand on you? Why are you painted red? Must have came off a tractor. We're gonna try rattling on a little bit and then off. There we go. Hot dog, we didn't break one bolt. There's a good look at those manifolds there. Look how long they are. I mean, these things are huge, man, and they are heavy. I can't remember what's behind this block-off plate. Just don't know. So, if you do know, if that thing serves any particular purpose, feel free to tell me. If you're ever pulling one of these or taking them apart, do yourself a favor. There's these plugs down along the bottom of the block that you can pull out, and you get all your antifreeze out of your block, so make a lot less of a mess. So I think I've got everything off there now that I don't want to go to the engine shop. Here's that way. We're gonna leave the distributor in there. It's junk as far as I'm concerned. I'm gonna keep it, but I'm gonna put a different one in because the guts are all fried, cooked from being on fire. Let's get a valve cover off of here and see what lays underneath. So these Pontiacs have these oil deflectors that mount to the studs there and there. Everything looks good. I wonder if these valve pieces are supposed to be that color or if they're aftermarket. I don't see any sign of aftermarket hardware. Well, I don't know. The bolts aren't all the same, so hard telling. Press-in studs. Doesn't look like we have any stuck valves or anything like that. Well, may have spoke too soon. We got troubles here. That rocker's really loose. So's that one. Oh, maybe we do have stuck valves or bent push rods or something. Well, we'll figure that out when it gets to the rebuilder, but everything looks, you know, not full of corrosion. That's a great sign. We have E85, so A, B, C, D, E, 5/8 of 1965. It's when those heads were built. That's pretty cool. And then back here, we've got our 77 casting numbers. That's an excellent sign. Yeah, I think we got everything off of here that we can send. Looking good. Well, I got it all about as naked as I'm gonna get it. I'm using this cordless grinder with the giant wire wheel on it to knock down all the really, you know, corroded stuff like the cross members and the big burn spot on the cowl. I'll use the wire wheel for that. And I need to replace this seam sealer right here. We'll see if I can do that nicely. I've never done that before. The little wire wheel's doing a good job though, so I'm gonna keep buzzing away on this, and then we'll probably end up washing it down, getting all the dust off of it, you know, all of this kind of stuff, get the dirt cleaned up. Hopefully before too long we're painting, but it's this kind of little stuff that, you know, takes just a massive amount of time, but it pays off in the end, because let's be honest, this is gonna be an engine bay that people are gonna spend a lot of time looking under, so we wanna make it look nice. Well, I think this looks plenty good enough. I got all the really rough stuff knocked down. Now we're gonna degrease and power wash, get everything out of the crevices. You know, we just need to clean up little stuff like this. get all the dust blown out of the cracks. Don't worry, I'm not gonna let it flash rust. We're just gonna go nuts with the degreaser. Try to get everything cleaned up around the edges, especially like back here. That's really where you want to focus on, or I want to focus on. You want to focus on the areas that people are gonna see. I know you're probably thinking, it's gonna flash rust. I ain't gonna flash rust. I'm gonna wash it. I'm gonna stick a heater in front of it. Much gooder. I think paint's gonna stick to that now. Look at all that junk down there. All right, we'll let them cook in front of the Nevco for a while, get it dried off. Look, it's drying already. It's gonna be fine. It seems we got some sealing to do. So, when this thing caught on fire, it burnt out all of this seam sealer on our firewall here. As you can see, the factory did a nice, pretty job when they installed it, or when they applied it originally. And there's no way on God's green earth we're gonna be able to replicate that, but we're gonna try to get close. So we've got this U-pull seam sealer. I'm gonna lay a fat bead along here and then try to spread it out with my little putty spreader and try to match what was going on here, but there's no way I'm gonna be able to, and it's in the most conspicuous spot, so that sucks, but we gotta do it. I've got this dry, so I think I'm gonna be okay. Try to get a fat, even bead. What are you doing over there?
What?
What are you doing over there?
Oh, about to go dumpster diving.
There's nothing good.
If you hose that down and then try to cock it right after, isn't it wet? Oh, geez, you're gonna have to redo this audio.
I baked it.
You're gonna have to redo this.
I got it laid out. I probably should go thicker though, especially in this area. The center's pretty good, but the tails of it leave a little to be desired. I'm sure I'm gonna regret trying to do this, but away she goes. Oh, we gotta seal up here too. We gotta get all of that. We don't want this thing to rust, you know, all the time it's gonna be spending outside. All right, let's see if we can really make a mess here. I don't want to completely flatten it out, I just want to lay it down. Hey, that's not bad. Need a little more pressure there. Oh, I'm impressed. This is gonna look factory-ish. I gotta admit, I've been doing a fair amount of remodeling on my own home, so I'm getting pretty good at this. Oh, except for the big stringer I got. Shoot. Well, all in all, it looks pretty close to factory, except for right in the center, of course. Can I touch this up a little? You probably really don't want to get this on your skin very badly. It probably doesn't want to come off. Oh man. Butchered it. Oh well, not bad, eh? Paint will cover a lot of it up. We good enough to get off this little stringer here? Oh yeah, look at that. I'm content. Check it out, eh? I got everything vital pretty well taped up. We'll be okay. It's not like we're using a paint gun. Yeah, got our wiring taped up, some steering stuff taped up, anything galvanized taped, fuse blocks, some holes in the cowl, stuff like that. So we're gonna be prepping it with this multi-purpose foaming prep cleaner from Duplicolor. That stuff seems to work really well. I've used it on engine bays, engine blocks, engine accessories, stuff like that. We got it up to about 62 degrees in here, which should be plenty. So I'll give everything a wipe down with that, and then I think we're ready to throw some paint at it. The other great thing about this stuff is that it's not going to make you smell colors like acetone does. Start somewhere inconspicuous first. You want to keep a wet edge. You want overlap when you paint. That's how you get a good finish. I'm just talking out my rear end. I don't know anything about painting. This is just what I read on the back of the can. It's like pretty good coverage after one coat of primer. This side is still wet, but this side's starting to dry, and it's looking pretty good. You can see the nice big dent we have there in that fender well. That's awesome, but it'll be fine. It's really laying down nicely. I'm happy with it. So we're gonna go with this Krylon Fusion. It's paint and primer, but you know, overkill's underrated. Satin black, so it's not gonna have that goofy flat looking finish where stuff gets stuck to it. The satin's gonna be, think of it as a little bit less than a semi-gloss. It's got the flat color, but it's a smooth finish, unlike flat. I don't know if that's caused by the paint not flowing well or we had debris in the paint, but either way, it's really turned out well. I'm happy with it. It's the next morning. I'm about to do this header panel, and my over-caffeinated, overstimulated brain thought of something. If I don't block off all these holes, I'm gonna get overspray on the backside with primer, and I'm gonna notice it. So I went behind every one of these little holes that I could get to and taped them off, especially the hood latch. That would have been a big one. Along with all of these holes on this flange here. I don't think we got to worry about that little guy. But the rest of them, even that one's got green tape. That bolt does. So I'm trying to prevent brown overspray getting into the backside of our nice freshly painted engine bay. I maybe should have done this first or at the same, probably all at the same time, but it sucks because it's hard to get in and out when you have to cross this, and I was really worried about messing it up. It'd be almost impossible for me to get out of here, and I could have taken this header panel off, but I don't know if I would be able to sneak them out from underneath the flanges on the fender or not. So we're leaving it. We're doing it this way. I'm gonna try to stay away from the edges with the primer, since we're technically using black paint and primer, but primer is gonna make me feel better. So I'm mainly gonna focus on the center, probably just dust around the corners, and then try to compensate with a bunch of black paint. All right, it's set up for about an hour now, and it looks really good. I'm very happy with the results, considering we did this in a dusty, dirty shop with spray paint cans. So it's been set up for over an hour now. Let's do what everybody came here for. Let's unmask this thing. You have no idea how excited I am about this. We're gonna try to tear away from the painted surface so that we don't peel any paint off with it. Not bad, eh? This looks so good. All right. Oh no, I ripped it. I was supposed to use this 100 more times. This car took about 2 rolls of paint. Not paint, crying out loud. Tape. 2 rolls of tape just to do this. Granted, I got a little, maybe you could say, carried away. Overzealous. Cautious. Overly cautious with it all. Man, I'm gonna end up painting the non-matching tailgate with this stuff, I swear. I think I got a new level of confidence now. Yeah, you can see why it took all this tape to do it. Oh man, I forgot how good I am. I was able to get this tape kind of underneath the header panel. Look at that, huh? Look at them crispy lines. That's crispier than McDonald's Sprite right there. Oh yeah, brother. I probably should have painted this, but oh well. If I ever want to, I can always just take the grills out and do it that way. Dang. Now this stuff sat overnight, so I don't feel so cautious with taking the paint off. Should have kept my fingernails. Man, I'm really happy with how this turned out though. I really debated as to whether or not I wanted to paint that. And if I were to do it again, I might have done everything from this lip all the way down, but maybe next time. Someday this car is gonna get full-blown nut and bolt restoed, but today's not the day, okay? Right now we just gotta drive this thing. Ain't bad, oh my gosh. This new satin paint makes the old paint look dull now. Ooh, I don't want to touch it. Get back here. There we go. There we are. Yeah, brother. That's good, man. Ah, shoot. Almost had it. I don't see any primer overspray. There might be a little bit in this battery box, but I can't tell if that's primer overspray or rust. I don't really want to touch it yet. I don't think I will. Oh man, look at that. We got a little lip right there that's not painted. We'll have to touch that up. This is the most effort that I've ever put into taping a car. I have these pieces laid out here mostly to prove to myself that I shouldn't be lazy when I tape. So each one of these little pieces has overspray on it, and these are the pieces that I stuck on the back side of these holes on this header panel. And that was, you know, a dozen opportunities to get overspray on my nice, otherwise clean engine bay. So I'm really glad that I took the extra time to do that. I think I've got all the tape off now, and I'm really, really happy with how things look. I tried to avoid painting over chalk marks over here. I taped that one off and it doesn't look all that great. And then there's another one back in here that I got some overspray on, but it's still legible. But that's mostly covered up. The wiper motor goes here, and then we've got the hood hinges that go right here as well, so can't really see that. But I tried to tape off as much as of the you know, bare metal and rubber steering parts and galvanized parts that I could, like the clutch linkage and the throttle linkage, as well as some pieces on the heater core. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. Oh, and some wiring too. I didn't want to get spray paint on my horn relay on my headlight wiring. I'm happy, guys. I've been spending my days picking through the pile of parts on the bench, just cleaning stuff up, getting things ready for paint, and I was working on the manifold. Forgot we've got a bolt broken off in it. We need to get that out. So I punched a mark in the center of the broken bolt, and now we're gonna drill out the center of it. All right. So the goal is to get your wire all the way down in the middle of that drilled out bolt and then fill in the top of this nut. Oh man, sucker is in there. Keep losing our bite. Shoot. Well, that's the way she goes. Keep trying it. Dang, we got some of it, but not all of it. Well, do we get it all? We're through, man. We're all the way. We'll get both of these holes just to make us feel better. Just keep running it up and down, lubricating it until it gets smooth. So due to the nature of me being a half hour away from any town that has, you know, real specialty tools in it, I'm forced to do stuff like this. So the pulley puller I've got will not, for whatever reason, get tight around this lip here, and this shaft poking out is also causing me grief. So let's try this. If only I could get my dang boards to stay still. I don't care about this pump, by the way. I think that moved it. I'm really unapologetic about this kind of stuff. I can put it on with my tool, but I can't get it off with my tool. Look at that, we're loose, huh? Finally, it's time. Spent hours prepping this stuff. Put way more effort into this car than I usually do. Well, for obvious reasons, right? Oh yeah. Just 20 more parts to go and I'll be done. Check it out, eh? Not bad for a harebrained hair lip. Now we'll get these suckers all dolled up. We're using a VHT cast iron paint. That's cool, I like that. I've used it in the past and yields pretty good results. It's pretty forgiving too. Next up is the tank, I think. I took the cap off. Can't get light down in there for the life of us. There we go. So it's either red dye diesel or turpentine, but look at the sides of it. It all looks really, really clean. There's the float sitting right there, so I think all we need to do is just evacuate this gas and we're gonna be good to go. There you go. Yeah, Yeah, it's pretty brown. But I don't think there's much in there, so hopefully we can get it all out, being as it's a straight shot down into the tank. Not bad, huh? See, the yellow tinge was where all the fuel was at. Oh, we've got some towards the back, maybe a little bit left back there. Not awful though. It's not terribly corroded. It's got a little bit of fuzz up above the fuel line, but I think we're gonna be okay. We got most of it out. Pulled about, oh, that's full. Filled one of these. We got about, I don't know, 11 gallons out of the deal. Quite a bit, but I think having that fuel in there kind of saved our tank. So we'll just run a filter after the tank and then before the fuel pump, and I think we'll be good. Don't let anybody tell you that drum brakes are hard to work on. You can do it with just a few simple tools. About 20 of them. It's all right, it's not that hard. Let's start by getting our wheel off. I'm not sure if these are left or right hand threads. Let's test it out. Right hand, good. It could kind of go either way with this. Boy, these lug nuts are ugly. Better get a hold of lug nut guys. This wheel rolls really well. I hope that there's hardware in there. It's coming. There we go. Beautiful. Let's hit our brake fitting now that we've got access to it. There's a lot of oil on it, so hopefully it's nice and lubricated. Here's an 1 16" wrench. There we are. Oh, man, we took, oh, yeah. Cool, just as we suspected. Absolutely nothing in there. Well, it's 9 degrees out. We're kind of out of the wind out here at the farm. I think we're gonna rob the brakes off of this 2+2. Bought this thing on an insurance auction. You can see more of it on the white 66 2+2 convertible video. It got messed up really, really hard. This front cross member that's cut out here was pushed all the way up against the engine. I mean, you can imagine with the bumper being here, the pole went all the way back into this cross member until the engine stopped it. So that was a good shoot. About 2 feet in front of this car got pushed in. Body's all cattywampus. The frame's buckled really, really badly right there. The frame is junk. Might try to do something really silly with this body though. We've got this 2+2, we've got another 65 2+2 that's a roller, but it's kind of tough. We've got a 65 Catalina that we can rob a frame off of. We've got another black 65 2+2 that was hitting the back really, really hard. So, I don't know, I might consider taking this body off, putting it on the regular Catalina frame, and then using the front clip off that black 2+2 that's wrecked in the back. How's this back bumper? Oh no, it's nice. Which means, I don't know, we might have to take it off because we might need that bumper for the other 2+2 that's sitting in the shop. Because the paint's nice, but the bumper and the tail panel piece is all pitted. It's pretty ugly. Anyways, this frame's never gonna move again. It does not need brake parts. Let's rob the parts off it. In case you're wondering to yourself, hey Jeff, this car's not an 8-lug car, it's a 5-lug car. Well, good news, viewer. All of this stuff in here is the same. The only thing that changes are the pads. Bearings might even be the same, I don't know. I think so, I think they're A2 and A6 bearings. But yeah, I think bearings are the same and then all the brake parts are the same down to the drums, so that's convenient. Bracket probably got bent when they were taking the brakes off of this. shoes were probably seized and they probably pulled everything out. Yeah, we're gonna have to straighten that out. Pull those bolts out. You need these off in order to get the backing plate off, and you need the backing plate off so you can get the wheel cylinder off. There we go. Now we just have the hose on the back. Take your wire wheel, go around this pivot point with it. We'll switch gears to our Scotch-Brite pad. And we've got these 6 raised points here. The shoes ride on those. They move on those points. We've got to make sure those are clean. All right, we've got the wheel cylinder on the backing plate. Put our plate back on. All right, we got our bolt. Getting ahead of ourselves, we got to hang our little bracket on. Then we can put our bolt on. This bracket will not come off without that bolt head removed. All right, bring our bolts in through the back side. There, see? The bracket will move around, but it cannot come out. So I took the other parts we had in the parts cleaner to the wire wheel. Some things you need to pay attention to is the threads on the adjuster and the part where this spins. Those all have to be clean. You want this spot and this spot on the adjuster to be clean as well, so that the adjuster pivots nicely. Then these little dongers that go into the wheel cylinder, want those to be clean too, so they don't tear your boots up. All right, now let's get totally carried away with the grease. I want to grease all 6 of these pads here. Like I said, the shoes are going to slide on them, so they need to be able to move. The grease helps them move. The grease also helps the pads not get corroded again. Then up top here, we're going to put grease on both sides of this bracket where it meets this bolt so that it can rock easily. And then I don't know if it's really all that necessary. I'm going to do it anyway because it makes me feel good. Where the shoes pivot on this stud here, we're going to grease that as well. Our wheel cylinder, we can push the cups in and out. That's great. And then you also want to lube the threads of the adjuster and then both sides of this adjuster arm around this hole so that it can pivot nicely. Sure, there's some old guys watching that have done way more drum brakes than I have, but this is how I like to do it. Put your pins through first. Now we're going to assemble our brake shoes. Like I said, you want grease on the threads, and then you also want grease inside of this cap here so that that can spin nicely. Put our threads all the way in. Right now our adjuster is nice and greased. So we've got shoes with a short pad and shoes with a long pad. The short pad always goes to the front. The long pad is on the back. Okay, the adjuster wheel is towards the back, so it's gonna go like that. So then we need our spring that holds the whole works together. And we've got a long end and a short end of the spring. The long end is so that we can clear this adjuster wheel, so we're going to hook it like that. It's easier if you get your shoes hooked together with the spring first and then manipulate the adjuster between the two without pinching your fingers. Alrighty. So as you can see, we've got the adjuster and the spring kind of holding the two shoes together. Now we're ready to hang the shoes on the backing plate. We're going to do this before we put any other parts on. So we'll put the little push rods into the shoes like that. Then we're gonna squeeze the shoes together to compress the cups inside the wheel cylinder. Take our pins, run our pins through their respective holes in the shoes, and they're gonna hang on there, just like that. Take your adjuster arm and your brake grease, apply a thin coating around that hole on both sides. That allows the arm to pivot nicely. Then we'll put this little piece through there, and that's what your spring is going to ride in. This part can be aggravating as all get out, but this is definitely the easiest way that I've found to put everything together. Oh, before we get carried away, we learned our lesson last time. We need to get this piece hooked in there. So it's going to go on there, up on the bracket, and then the other end is going to go on the top of this adjuster. We had to take this stuff apart last time because we did this beforehand. And if you wait to put that arm in there, you don't have enough slack to get the hooks everywhere where you need it. All right, so that's all mocked up now. So we're gonna get our short yellow spring and our little cap. The short yellow spring goes on the side with the adjuster arm. I'm gonna take my 90-degree needle nose pliers. I just love these things. Use that to push the nut on, and I'm holding the pin into the back of the backing plate on the back side. See how easy that was? Just have to do the same for the other side. Put this end towards the shoe. Do the same thing. Hold it. And this is probably going to happen a few times. Got it on the second try, not bad. And now everything is firmly attached to the backing plate. Nothing's going to fly apart now. So now we need to sneak this little spring onto our arm, get the top of it started, and then push the bottom in. And there's this little hump on the shoe that you got to get it over. There we go. Now you take your big blue springs. These are a man killer. Let me tell you, you got to have respect for them. Now we got to hang these. You just stick the one end through the shoe, and then I like to use these pliers when I can, but they don't always work. Your eyeballs when you do this. Yeah, I don't have a good approach on this one. I might not get it. Nope. I really don't like using vice grips, but if you do use them, make sure they're absolutely as tight as you can get them. Life hack, don't break your fingers. Use pliers to take them apart. There we go. I've got the hose on, but I'm going to leave it unhooked right now because after we do the back brakes, we are gonna come up here to that fitting before we put the master cylinder on, put air to it, and blow out all the brake lines, get all the old fluid out. Nice. I've got all the wheel cylinders off. Let's blow the lines out. Oh my, there's a lot of old brake fluid in there. See it running out over there. Looks like we got it out on the driver's rear. Oh, I see some on the passenger rear too. Or, never mind, we're on the passenger rear. We've got it out on both of the rear sides. That's great. Before we get into these brakes, we need to fix that axle seal. Oh man, that is ugly. That looks like tar. That's cool news on the ring gear. We've got a 41 and a 12. 41's the amount of teeth on the ring gear, 12's the amount of teeth on the pinion gear. 3.416 repeating. We've got 342 gears in this wagon. Looks like the oil's gonna have to drain for about a year, so let's get the axle pulled. Our bearing, our outer bearing, and our seal is in here. You can see all of that gear oil that's in there. Our seal obviously failed, so we need to get that seal pulled out. Put some grease around the outside of this seal to help it slide in nicely. Boy, this stuff is tacky today. It's -8 outside right now. Having a hard time getting this place warmed up this morning. Almost there. You're at the pitch change. I think we're home now, boys. So a bad axle seal can often be caused by a wheel bearing that's wearing out. So I figured while we've got this thing out, we've got the new seal in, we should probably replace this bearing, and I can feel side to side movement in the bearing. I don't think there's supposed to be any. So we need to get the bearing and this collar off, and unfortunately my press will not allow me to press this off, but the press can press it on. So that means we got to get the collar and the bearing off, and that pretty much limits our options to the torch. I've done this about 3 times, so you could say I'm kind of a pro at it. Not really, but I think we can do it. So I'm gonna try to heat this collar off, and gonna try to get it red hot, and then hopefully knock it off. And we'll try to do the same thing with the bearing, but we might end up cutting both of them off. No, no, not looking good. Nope. Can't be on there if it's liquid. Gotta cut this bearing up and send red hot balls everywhere. It's great. We got her whipped, and as you can see, we've got very minimum scarring from chiseling it off. Looks like we can clean all of that up with with some emery cloth probably. Nothing's really very deep, it's just kind of scratched. And you've got to keep in mind that the spots that you're cutting on here, like say about here's where the collar rode and then this is where the bearing was at, these two things don't actually turn on the axle. The only thing that spins on the axle is the seal, so we've got to make sure that the seal area here is nice and clean, and all we really need to be concerned about is knocking down the high spots where the collar and the bearing ride. Now that we got the races off, we're just going to hit this with some 320. Get all the surfaces smoothed out. Both the surface where the races ride and especially where the seal rides at. Got some deeper gouges where the races were. I'm going to hit it with 80 and work my way up to 320. Alright, got the surface cleaned up pretty good. We're going to put some grease on them so that our bearings slide on nice. There we go. Make sure you got this piece on or you're going to be SOL, man. I don't think the bearing's directional, but this collar here's got a part number on it, Y22A, same number that's on the bearing, so we'll put that out in case we ever need to look at it again. All right, let's get the pressing. We just need to go until the bearing touches the next step on the axle. It's all going really easy. It's not taking a lot of force, I'm just trying to watch it. Almost there. We're home. There we are. Easy peasy. And then this is the area that the seal rides on. So as you can see, we did not damage that area. We got a couple little nicks there, 2 little nicks. Like I said, you're more concerned about getting the high spots knocked down than anything. That feels really good. We didn't pinch anything, everything went together well. I'll be dipped, I do have axle flange gaskets for these. You gotta watch it, they're not the same as Chevys. I think it was up until 70. Buick Olds Pontiac had their own rear ends, separate from Chevrolet. Now I don't think it's terribly critical to have a gasket here. You could probably get along with silicone, but the gaskets were cheap. Oh wow, they even kind of fit. They don't really lay down flat, but it's alright. These gaskets don't really actually seal any oil or grease out. They just keep, you know, dirt from getting in behind the backing plate. Alrighty, got the axle all cleaned up, and we've got lube on the seal and lube on the splines on the end of the axle. So we're gonna try not to bang that new seal up too much while we're trying to get this guy seated. There we go. All right, get our flange here lined back up. Cool, now we just have to put our nuts back on. It really took a fair amount of cleaning after we got the brake parts on. So we had to clean up this axle flange, clean up this pilot, clean up the threads on the lugs, and then of course we've got our turn drum, but we cleaned up this mating surface and then this one as well, so that this hub's gonna go on nicely. So I got my front hubs on and I got my brake lines on my differential replaced. I'll tell you what, those copper lines are great unless you have to flare them. They are way too soft to flare, it seems. I have not had good luck lately getting those to flare, so I've gone back to the regular, I don't know if they're steel, what the heck they're made out of, but I've gone back to the regular green ones and I've just been mostly bending them by hand. So now all we have left to do, well, not all we have left to do, but at least on the rear end, we have to deal with this pinion seal. This thing is scuzzy. It looks like, judging by everything on the trunk floor and the differential, that it's been leaking for some time. So we're gonna get this bathed down, wire wheeled, get it cleaned up so that we can actually see the nut in the center of it. We got our pinion cleaned up. We're gonna pay attention to two things. I made a mark with the chisel on the pinion and one on the nut, so we know where those two lined up. Another thing we're gonna pay attention to is the amount of threads showing past the nut. So we have roughly 1 to 2 threads showing past that nut is all. So we know exactly where we need to go back to once we zip it off. That is very important. Oh wow, it was coming off. Here, I thought it was too big. All right. There we go. There's our seal. There's the root of our troubles. Our mating surface on our pinion looks really good. So it's not like that got wore out, it just must all be on our seal. There we are. Hey, did you know that 65 and 66 use different pinion seals? Yeah, well, I do know too. I'm probably gonna get demonetized just for talking about this, but here's a trick I learned back in Nam. I got a weed sprayer full of diesel fuel, and we're just gonna give everything a spray down here, try to get all the gunk out. Try to keep your face away from this. If you'll remember, there was a lot of crud in here. Try to get into all the bearings and everything. Yeah, look at all that gooey stuff we're getting out of the bottom. That's good. The RTV on the cover is setting up. I got the master cylinder bled and bolted on. Let's start pushing the brake pedal. Might be the first time this car's had brakes in 30 years. There's something there. We're gonna pump it, I don't know, 10, 15 times, try to get fluid all the way to the back. Alrighty, hosses and hossettes, I got the brakes bled, and I got our old shocks out. Check out these Big A Husky shocks. Shock names were awesome back then. I think we gotta adjust our brake shoes now. If you'll remember, we've pretty much got our adjusters all the way in. I'm gonna do the fronts. Can't really spin the backs yet because we still have that pinion out because I don't have the seal yet. Won't have it for 3 more days. But we can at least get the fronts done and I can get some things off my list. Fill diff, yeah, adjust brakes, blow out fuel line, replace ignition, balance wheels, install pinion seal. There we go. Just enough so you can hear it. A lot of this is gonna wear in. It's not hitting all the way around, but it's close. Basically, when I do this for everyone, you want the fronts to be just a little bit tighter than the backs. Check out this neat tombstone looking access panel that covers up the gas tank. Also, for you Midwesterners, check out these inner quarter panels. What a treat. So, just cut this hose here. I'm gonna replace it anyways. We'll blow into the tank and then into the line, and hopefully we'll get all, if anything, out in the engine bay. Yeah, we definitely have some contents left. All right. Oh my. We were met with some initial resistance. I think we're good now though. And this line goes into the tank. Free of obstruction. Make sure you take your gas cap off before you do that. You're gonna make your tank football shaped. Cool. Just put a new line on there. Look, this thing said gas on it still. You can see the A, S, and the G. So I wonder if that was original. I don't know. Let me know if you know if rubber line got labeled gas like this from like part stores, because that 60 Bonneville, Catalina, whatever it was that we worked on, it said gas on the lines too. All right, new line is in. We've got a fuel filter in a spot that's semi-serviceable, except we, you know, put our hose clamp in the wrong orientation, but that's, you know, that's future Jeff's problem. All right, I'll get that panel wrestled back in there, and then you'll never even know that we did it. Gotta love old technology. Check it. This rear U-joint's never been replaced. It still has the orange-red plastic injection, so we gotta heat that up, and we gotta get that little snake to come out of there, and then we can get the cap off. There it's going. Just keep working the torch around until plastic quits coming out. So these are injected. These ears, we should say, have plastic injected into them. I think we're good. I don't see any more coming out. Down, boys. All right, we'll do that for the other side. Let's see. Simple as. So I got the wide whites dug back out, and I think they're gonna find a permanent spot on that wagon. They're not balanced because we didn't have a way to balance them at the time, but I think I have an idea. I don't have one of the fancy balancing plates, but I do have an overabundance of hubs with the liners that are worn through. So I balanced it with just the hub on it, well, ran the balancer, and it's only off a 1/4 of an ounce on each side, so let's try it. See how bad of a gallop this has. A little bit of a gallop, but gosh, a lot of that's in the hubs, it looks like. 50 on the inside and 2.5 on the outer. I think we're just gonna roll with it. If it was something like 6 ounces and 4 ounces, I probably wouldn't even mess with it, but with it being this close, I think that it's worth a shot. Look at that, huh? Doesn't that look snazzy? I love these wide whites. I got these original style lug nuts from Lug Nut Guys. These are absolutely the closest ones to original that I could find. I first got acquainted with them because they offered these really goofy shank lug nuts I needed for these old school slotted mags that I had. Check them out. They're an American company in Minneapolis. And use discount code CHIEF, C-H-I-E-F, for free shipping on orders under $35. Orders over $35 always get free shipping. Don't that look snazzy? I'm gonna wait to put the trim ring on until after I torque them. Once I get the car on the ground, I'll do that. You gotta be careful with these. These nuts here only get torqued to 80 foot-pounds, I believe. If it's any more than that, it'll pull the studs out of the aluminum. Doesn't that look snazzy, huh? Check it out. We got keys, and we have a pinion, and a radiator. Well, I hate to leave you guys hanging, but we're out of things to do. We don't have an engine yet. It hasn't been started on. Our transmission is done, but that doesn't do us any good without the engine. But at least we got the drivetrain removed. We got the parts painted and cleaned. We got the engine bay cleaned up and painted. We got the brakes rebuilt. We got the suspension looked at. We got the differential fixed. We've got sweet looking tires on it, and we've got some other little things done. So I guess next time you see me, well, next time you see this wagon, we're gonna be breaking in the brand new 421. Isn't that gonna be a ball? If I didn't turn it into a two-parter, it'd probably end up being like 5 hours long. So sorry, but next time you see this wagon, it's gonna be running with its 421. Thanks again for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.